There are over 500,000 kids in foster care across the United States, and making sure they're well taken care of takes a village. I'm Erin Lindstrom, and this is Foster Care Aware, a production brought to you by Tidewater Friends of Foster Care with support from the Barry Robinson Center. If you've had it on your heart to become a foster parent, volunteer, donor, advocate, or just want to learn more, you're in the right place. For more information on how to move forward, head to fostercareaware.org/next steps. And now I'm thrilled to share today's segment with you. I'm Mary Lindstrom, and I am joined by Audra Bullock, the president and director of Tidewater Friends of Foster Care, and Mary McGowan, who is the executive director of Attach, which is an organization that equips communities with the tools to create healthy attachments and support healing trauma and with foster and adoptive parents. So Mary, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here and have the opportunity to talk with foster parents and potential foster parents.
We are so excited. I've had the pleasure of meeting you in person and hearing you speak, and I just am like a bug to the light because I think it's so interesting. And there's so much gold here that not enough people know about, but it really can transform your relationships. So can you kind of just take a minute and introduce yourself to our viewers and tell us a little bit about your journey into foster care and adoption, and in turn with Attach?
Great, Erin, I'd love to. So believe it or not, it started many, many years ago when I wanted to do something for children and be a part of their lives. And I became a big sister in the Big Brothers Big Sister program. And I had a pre-adolescent that I met with weekly for 2 to 3 hours. And it was wonderful and it was enriching, but it just didn't feel like enough. I wanted to do more. I wanted to go into the lives of those children out there that don't have families, that don't have parents, even if it's just for a time. And so I became a licensed foster parent many years ago. And I think it was 1986, actually. And I did foster care for 26 years. It was near and dear to my heart. I started out not knowing a whole lot and grew to a place where I am now. I often wish that I had that knowledge that I do now, and what a difference it would have made in the way that I parented some of the first children and youth that came into my home. And so one of my goals as a child advocate is to share that knowledge freely to others, to help them so that they don't have to stumble and not know certain things, and you know, we can just grow together.
So Mary really wrote of almost hard knocks. Tell us and our viewers why foster children in particular are subject to attachment issues.
Well, for starters, attachment issue is the fact that children have never learned to trust an adult, usually the primary caregivers in their life. And that comes from multiple issues, such as neglect, abuse, mental health issues of parent or parents. It can be even outside of the foster care arena with military deployment, hospitalization, those types of things. And so for whatever reason, our children, our babies, never had the opportunity to feel like somebody had their back, that somebody was supporting them, that somebody responded to their needs.
So Mary, I have a follow-up question on that though, because children that are coming into foster care obviously are detaching from their known primary caregivers. Does that have an impact that plays into the formation of an attachment disorder?
Well, it certainly does, Audra. You know, I think about if there is such a thing as a perfect case scenario where maybe a child had a family, but there was just mom and dad, they weren't relatives or friends. And this child, if something tragic happened to the parents and there was no relative or someone that they know into their lives, they would come into foster care. And it doesn't matter if they had the most trusted, loving, supportive family, they're still losing every single thing that they know, that they feel safe and comfortable with. And when you take those elements away from a child, regardless if they started with that secure trust and attachment, they are going to suffer greatly. And we as foster parents are going to see that and sometimes internalize that. And that's why it's important for us to know and understand what they come to us with so that we can better serve them and help them.
Mary, can you tell us, like, what are some of the signs of an attachment disorder?
Right, so you'll see you'll see things like no eye contact. If it's an infant, you'll see them maybe rigid. If you try to hug them, they're just kind of rigid, or they have what we call a flat affect, meaning they don't show a whole lot of emotion on their face. Some people with babies even report, oh, they're such good little infants, they never cry, you know, and many times that can be a sign that they've have learned helplessness, where they just don't feel like their cry will get them a result. Our older children and youth, they don't listen, they don't want to trust. You'll see a lot of control issues, and it's just like, and it's so easy for us to jump into that boxing ring, if you will, and get into that power and control. But really what that control is telling us is right now that child is feeling so out of control that they're just grasping at anything they can to feel some sort of semblance of, I have power in my own life. And so we see it in those issues. We see impulse control, you know, where they just don't want to, they just can't control their emotions. So it comes out in a variety of ways, even hyperactivity. You know, a lot of kids are diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and it actually comes from just that hypervigilance, or that just being on edge from being afraid.
One of the things that I hear often in foster care is behaviors are communications. They're messages. They're not anything else but trying to communicate what is the feeling, right? That this child feels vulnerable. So we know that foster kids are likely going to have attachment issues. I remember the first time I met you, Mary, we sat down and we had dinner together. Yes. And it kind of, we boiled it down to, I'm sorry, but 100% of the kids in foster care are going to have attachment issues. That's just what's coming at us. What can these be healed? Can they be overcome, and how?
Well, that's a great question, Audra, because sometimes it feels so hopeless. It's not hopeless, or we wouldn't be doing the work that we're doing, right?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
In fact, that's what we named our first book, Hope for Healing, A Parent's Guide to Trauma and Attachment, because the great thing is what we call in our brain, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but we have neuroplasticity. In other words, our brain has the capability of changing. So maybe when you're young and an infant and that child didn't get those needs met, we know through some science and some research that the brain can change and it can grow in the areas that help them with emotion and regulation. And it's really exciting to know that that there is that movement forward, that they can learn to trust and they can heal. It will be a huge part. It takes a long time, but that's why it's so important that we understand it from the get-go, so that we go in with kind of a different mindset on parenting and helping children and youth.
Mary, when you say it takes a long time, can you give our viewers a perspective, some reference frame on you know, how long it takes, and in a, you know, give us a scenario and maybe what they can expect.
Right. You know, it varies with each child and youth. I think about my youngest, who I got as an infant, who is now 14. And so a lot of people would say, well, you picked him up at the hospital and the NICU, and so there's no issues. But there is. Attachment starts very early on. It starts in utero. And so with him, you know, it started where things seemed good. And then as I got to a school age, I started to see, you know, the hypervigilance. I started to see the what looked like learning disabilities, which it turned out not to be. And so it was a readjustment, a mind shift for me to not compare him to other children and youth, but to compare him to him. And when I started doing that with each child in my care, it changed the outcome, because then I could see changes. I could see when, you know, he scraped his knee and he would scream in rage and anger because he didn't know how to reach to somebody for attachment. I saw him go from that, and it probably took a year, you know, to riding his bike, falling off, and watching him run to me for comfort. And it was one of those, yeah, you know, because it was real. And so I cleaned it up. I gave him a Band-Aid. I, you know, helped him and met him because he turned to me. And that is a sign of trust. That is the beginning of trust. So we need to look for those signs, which gives us that courage and encouragement to move forward and know that we are making a difference.
Right. I think those small signs are often missed because in a birth family and in an ideal situation, those things come naturally. That attachment has evolved over, months and years. Like you said, it starts in utero. And our children in foster care don't have necessarily that benefit. So we have to be extra patient as foster parents and look for those little subtle signs of marked improvement. And I think when we take that perspective, as well as what you're saying, is each child kind of meeting them where they are and walking a journey with them, that gives us a new perspective on success. So I love the Attach organization because you all provide these resources and this insight, a lot of what you've learned over the course of your lifetime in working with children like this. But tell us a little bit more about how you came to Attach and your position, and what does Attach do for the community?
Absolutely. So I've been with Attach since 2011. And before that, I was still in the field working with the North American Council on Adoptable Children and other areas that help serve foster and adoptive youth. And I was actually at a conference and I was approached by a national nomination committee looking for executive directors. I looked into the organization, they looked into me, and we began to do a series of interviews, and I really had to stop. I stay at my jobs a very long time. And so the thought, I don't know if I want to leave and what is this? But then when I saw the potential of taking my foster care and adoption, my psychology background, my medical background, all the different things that I have, and put it towards an organization such as Attach, I just thought it was a great connection. So I accepted the job. Attach moved to Minneapolis, Minnesota, because it kind of goes wherever the executive director is. And it was right in the midst of kind of my transformation of understanding more and more about attachment. So I worked hard to educate myself, to take in as much training as I could, read as many books as I could. And of course, the incredible opportunities to meet with the top researchers and leaders in the world, and to know them has changed my life. It has changed my children's life, because every time I teach or train or share, I am learning something new as well. And so I'm able to take that to my children and share it with others and bring that forward. We've grown tremendously at Attach in the past few years, and we offer quite a few variety of things that we do. For example, we have an annual conference, which is a phenomenal conference. It's one of the best ever anywhere. We're starting our 32nd annual conference this fall, October 1 through 3rd. And as most people, we are contemplating and looking to move it online in a very interactive format. We're using tools that we haven't seen so far through others. We really want it to feel real, live, and be able to have reciprocal communication, because that's what attachment and connection is about. We have 2 to 3 books that we've written. We have recorded trainings. We come out and we train all over. So while we're located in Minneapolis, we train nationally and all over the world. And I've had the pleasure of working with Tidewater and Barry Robinson and some other folks, and trained 3 or 4 different times out in the Virginia Beach, Norfolk area. And it's been wonderful to train with parents, to train with social workers. And we've built quite a partnership and really wanting to bring folks to that same level. So the therapists know the same thing as our parents. For our parents specifically, I get so excited. I get so excited about this, because we have a parent membership, which is very affordable. And we have organizations that sponsor and pay for parent memberships, which allow people to come in and get our connections. But we have weekly online support calls, mini trainings. We have a private Facebook for our parents. So every day our parent support advocate, Deb, is on there. And so people can go on there and go, I just woke up and found, chewed gum all over the table or something. It's like, what do you guys do? What, just simple things, but also resources. We have webinars that we have every week, and we have now changed our offerings for our members. No matter what membership you have, you can attend any and all of our monthly webinars for free. Our goal is to just bring the information and bring the help and bring the support to our parents, to our families, and our professionals. And we're here. I think one of the things that I learned over the years is you can't do this alone. And I know that's why you created what you created.
I was just about to say the same thing, where like this is attached as part of the village that we always talk about, and how this whole thing about caring for the most vulnerable children in our community takes the village. And it is so cool and amazing that Attach exists, and that people like you are in the world teaching about attachment, because it really changes the dynamic inside the home. So just thank you.
Oh, it's something that I was committed to do, stepping in, with a couple different hats on, the clinical psychology background, but the 26 years of parenting. And I haven't even mentioned that I adopted 5 children from foster care. And so I live, eat, and breathe this because it's what I do. It's what I'm called to do, if you will.
Yeah.
And, with our parents and families, as you said, Erin, if you build that village and you get that set up ahead of time. I wish someone would have almost mandated me back in the day to say, you need to join a support group now.
Right.
Because what we found, we encourage our pre-adoptive, our pre-foster homes, our foster homes without placements yet, to jump in, get on these calls, get your village built.
Yeah.
And you build that village. And then when a placement comes in, it's like, oh, they talked about that, but now I'm living it. You already have in place resources, support, and training ready to go.
Amazing.
It's a great point too. Don't dig out of a hole. Have your resources there, because they can help you through what seems like maybe not a crisis at the time that can end up in a crisis, but you've got support to help you through it. Amazing.
Yeah. It's amazing too, just hearing you talk about this. So it sounds like, people are coming to try and help the child, right? And like really focus on building that trust. And I imagine what has to happen is that the parent ends up transforming through this process too.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I remember going to a training at Cornell University, and it was totally different than anything I had experienced. And I came home, and of course, my oldest daughter gave me a chance right away to practice. And I just jumped right in. I'm running away. And instead of chasing or yelling, you can't do that, or, just kind of a gut instinct, I stopped. I said, I'm really sorry that you're feeling this way, and I'm here if you want to talk. I sat out on the porch, nervous and scared, but I watched her walk away, stop, and look back, walk away, stop, turn. Pretty soon she came back. We sat at the same level. I did not look at her. There was no contact at that point because she was too upset. And we were able to calm and get to a place where we listened to her feelings. And I'm sure we're going to get into that more as we talk in our next interview to get into some of that detail. But that is just so important. And I think, that's one of the reasons I'm drawn to Barry Robinson Center and Tidewater organization, our friends of foster care, because you all have that same mindset, that same draw, that same passion. And that's why I think we've been able to work together on so many things, because we're working towards a common goal. We understand it because we're walking it, we're living it. And that makes a huge difference when it's not just book smarts or things we've learned, but it's just like, I can go and share this incredible message and come home, and I'm still a mom. I'm not a therapist. I'm not, I'm a mom in my home. And so I get frustrated. I have to remind myself of all the different new tools that I've learned, just like anyone else, but they're there and they truly make a difference.
Yeah, it's amazing the tools that are available to us just as humans, and the fact that we're all in it and we're all trying our best. And I just think this is such an amazing opportunity to learn about attachment, because we're always talking about what we're giving to the foster child. And this is one of those moments where you can really see the opportunity for you to transform as a person and really grow, and like the amazingness that can come from that. So thank you so much, Mary. Yeah. Can you tell us If people are interested in learning more about Attach or joining the Parent Support Network, where should they go? What should that next step be?
Right. So there's a couple of things they can do. They can email us at info@attach.org. They can go to our website, which is just attach.org, and start looking at some of the information. If you email, we will get back to you the same day. Our website has the membership on there, and so you can click and become a member right away. But we encourage you to call us. We can send you out a list of the support calls for the rest of the year and give you other information. Our website also has resources of therapists and other services that we provide. So reach out to us. We'd love to talk with you and be supportive. And again, we support people from all around the world. So this isn't just a local organization. We've brought parents together who have actually built these relationships over time, over space, and how appropriate, because now with our current times and situations, we fortunately already had this virtual. And so our parents won't see a hiccup in this. They will continue to get the same support and services that they've always gotten.
Amazing. Thank you so
Incredible.
much, Mary.
Yep. Thank you, Mary. I so appreciate your partnership in this journey and all the work you do for children and families. It's really incredible.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. And if you're thinking about being a foster parent, jump in. There's a lot of support out there. Children and youth need you. Thank you so much, Erin and Audra. Appreciate your time.
And a big thank you